Hey everyone, welcome to session 2 of Becoming a People Who. I hope you enjoyed your first session together. For some of you, this might be a brand new way to study the scripture. Others of you have discovered God together like this before. Either way, we hope these videos provide some helpful pointers along the way. One of the most important components of the discovery process is generating great conversation. The very strength of this method of Bible study is that we learn from one another and are challenged and sharpened by one another's perspectives. It's just that. We discover together. So as you dive in this week, you're going to see a new component. There's a few new questions in your guide. There's some follow-up questions from last week, the I will statements in the sharing that you did. Here's what I'd love for you to do. Affirm small steps. This is not about accomplishing everything in 1 week. In fact, there is no failure except not trying. This isn't just about accountability, did you do what you said you're going to do? But this is more about looking into how God changes our lives as we walk in obedience to Him. Another thing I want to point out to you is this section called the spec. This is so powerful. Looking at the sin to confess or avoid, the promise to hold on to, an example to follow, or a command to obey. I want to make sure you know you won't always identify all 4 of these in any passage. But what makes this so important is that each of us, as we approach the scriptures, see a different thing. You might see a sin to confess, or someone else sees a promise to hold on to, or a command to obey. So take a few extra moments around the spec this week and use that as a tool to generate great conversation and discover more about God together. In fact, the spec can even inform your I will statements. What do you learn from that part of your conversation that can help lead you to some costly obedience? Well, I want to invite my friend Michelle, who's been part of many groups before, to talk to us a little bit about what's important to her about this discovering together and generating great conversation. So Michelle, tell us, what's important to you about this discovery Bible study method, the discovery process? What's been helpful or important to you about that?
So the discovery process has really changed the way I have studied the Bible. It took it from being a past tense to something that is more of a living word. It allows me to just dive in, dissect, break down line by line, word from word, and really put me in that place, time, setting, and imagine what was going on during Jesus' life.
That's awesome. What's important about the discovery process and having other people around you that you're kind of co-exploring with? What's been really important to you or significant to you about kind of discovering the scripture alongside others?
It's really cool to see how other people, how their brain is thinking, what they're feeling, kind of sharing their own personal experiences. When you get to ask, what does this say to you, about God or His plan or His people? And just hearing their insights rather than kind of assuming, it's really allowed us to explore together and create space to walk in each other's lives even more.
So we have groups of all different shapes and sizes. Some groups have been together for a long time. Some groups are just kind of starting out. But how do you generate helpful conversation in a group? Do you have any helpful tricks or hints of just how do you create conversation that really matters, that has depth, but also is fun and enjoyable for people?
I think the most important thing is while we can acknowledge all the similarities we might see in a group, taking time to recognize the differences and how we can use those to grow off of one another. Not being afraid to say, hey, I might not agree with you or see that, but just celebrating it and asking the deep intentional questions, not just the closed questions, but the open-ended questions helps a lot. In addition to the open-ended questions, it's really important to take the time to connect on an emotional level. What are the things in your life that might be causing some stress, anxiety, acknowledging that everyone's kind of taking a different walk right now. So looking at things, talking about, the sins, promises, commands of Christ that maybe we're not so keen on or following so well, but how can we improve one another through these conversations?
Yeah. The thing about the discovery process that's just so important is just that. We're discovering together. We're kind of co-explorers on this journey. So as you embark on session 2, We are rooting for you and praying for you as you get to know one another, get to know God, and get to know His Word together. Enjoy your session.